In this special Halloween 2023 edition of Pop Culture Weekly, I talk with Valerie Complex from Deadline all about horror movies today. And then once again, I bring back Lovecraft to talk about their brand new album. Let's go.
Welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon from iHeartRadio. Your pop culture news, views, reviews, and celebrity interviews on all the movies, TV, music, and pop culture you crave weekly. Here's Kyle McMahon.
Hello, welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon. I, of course, am Kyle McMahon, and I am so happy. You know, this is my favorite time of the year. Halloween is my favorite holiday, my favorite day of the year. And so I always look forward to it, and this episode in particular. Today, once again, Lovecraft is back, and we talk about their brand new album, which I can't wait to discuss. And from Deadline Hollywood, Deadline.com, Valerie Complex joins me. She is an associate editor and film writer with Deadline and a horror fan, and she's a badass girl, let me tell you that. Love her. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it, okay? Let's just get to the good stuff. Here we go. Valerie Complex. So, I am here with the one and only Valerie Complex. She is awesome. She is an associate editor and film writer at Deadline, which, as I've talked about all the time on the show, my go-to resource for breaking news in Hollywood and beyond. Thank you so much for joining me, Valerie. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
Of course. I feel like this has been like months in the making because it has.
Right. Life happens and schedules don't align sometimes, so it's all good.
Yeah. And you are a busy, busy person with all the award shows, film circuits, film festival circuits, and all that good stuff. You are highly in demand, so I really appreciate you chilling with me for a little bit. So, we are talking, we're in my favorite month of the year, leading up to my favorite day of the year, my favorite holiday, and that is Halloween. And you and I are big horror films, genre film people, and that's how you got your start into journalism, right?
That's how I got involved. I was covering mostly horror and science fiction on the now defunct Movie Pilot website. I don't know if anybody remembers.
I remember.
It out there.
I remember.
And then, moved up from there. I started writing for genre sites like IGN, The Nerdist, Black Girl Nerds, and things of that nature. And that was, and then I, wrote for IO9, which is a big sci-fi horror site. So that was fun. I wasn't always like straight-laced,
Right. Yeah. Randomly, what is your favorite, if you can pick one, your favorite horror movie?
Of the year or just in general?
Just in general.
That's hard because, you have a film that's your favorite when you're younger. As you get older, you're like, wow, this is trash. And so,
yeah.
So many, like very little have held up. But if I have to talk about one that's held up, even into adulthood, I would have to say The Exorcist.
Oh, that's a good one. And it's what, the 40th anniversary this year?
Yeah. And I know it's like a super, regular answer and kind of cliched at this point, but it's the only one that I can think of that has been like, oh, wow, this held up.
Yeah.
But let me check my letterbox because I may have an option in there that I didn't think of. But I would say The Exorcist. What about you?
Ooh, I would probably say the original Halloween. I'd say the original Halloween. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's part nostalgia or what, but as a horror movie, I think it's still really effective. Just the score and just everything kind of comes together to be really creepy, even today, for me.
Okay, so now some more are sort of rolling, out of my head. And so I'm thinking about like The Ring 2, the Japanese version.
Ooh.
I really liked a film called Cairo in Japanese, but it's the Japanese. Okay, so in America it's called Pulse.
Mm-hmm.
But in Japan it's called Cairo.
Okay.
So that's a really awesome movie that sort of stands up Against Time. And let's see, I liked Midsommar. I know that's like
Oh boy. Can we talk
very
about that for a second?
challenging. Yes, it's a
So
very
I first of all, I love the writer director. Secondly, I still to this day, I love A24 and almost everything that they've ever released. I was in the theater and I remember when it ended, I said to myself, and I still feel this way today. I don't know if that was the worst thing I've ever seen or the best thing I've ever seen. And
I think a,
today I still feel that way.
I think a lot of people feel that sort of, confusion about that film, and I don't blame them. It's just an extremely divisive film, and I don't think I realized that until much, much later after it came out. And you talk to people and you're all enthusiastic, and they're like, "I fucking hate that movie." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, nice."
I felt the same way about Mother from who was it? Darren was it Darren Aronofsky or whatever?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I felt the same way. I was like at the end of the movie, I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then I'm like, but wait a second. I started thinking about what it represents and like the whole Adam and Eve and that kind of deep meaning behind it. And then I'm like, well, that's also kind of genius. But like, what the hell did I just watch? It was just I feel the same way about those two movies actually.
And I think we often forget about like the horror films that cross genres, like Event Horizon.
Mm.
It wasn't a very popular film when it came out in '97, but it's become sort of a cult classic, blending sci-fi and horror together, which I thought was a great film. If you're looking at action horror, there's I don't know, I don't really have, I guess what is the name of that movie? Overlord?
Oh, with the like Nazi thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have your action sort of, or like Dawn of the Dead, which would be like
Ooh.
action horror.
Yeah.
And you have your more traditional horror films like The Witch, which I really
Mm.
liked.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Or like Pitch Black, which a lot of people don't talk about,
Yeah.
but
Vin
I still
Diesel.
think it's like one of Vin Diesel's best performances and probably one of the best movies he's been in,
I totally agree.
um, because it comes from a really creative angle. It had did something we didn't see before. What is it like to be an anti-hero in this situation? So really, really good stuff. I really liked Tales from the Hood, 1995, which I thought
Yes. That's a great
was
one.
a big sort of classic. Let's see. I'm looking at my list here. I love The Omen. I think The Omen is still pretty creepy to this day.
Oh yeah.
Not the remake, the original
Hmm.
1976 version. And let's see some other ones. Have you ever seen the movie Demons? Not Night of the Demons, but Demons. I think was this is this a Dario Argento movie? I think so.
Okay. I haven't, but I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Um, it
That's
takes place in a movie theater, and everybody turns into monsters, and everybody's trying to get out. And um, it takes place in Italy.
okay. No, so I should watch that one.
I would, I would watch it. It
Okay.
was directed by Lamberto Bava, so not Dario Argento, but Dario Argento light.
Okay.
Um, oh gosh, I'm just looking at my list and just seeing
What about
Creep Show. Sorry,
Oh, no, you're totally fine. Creep Show the original?
the original.
That's a great one.
Everything will most likely be original. I don't remakes are rarely good to me. So
Well, let me ask you, Suspiria, am I saying it right?
Suspiria, yes.
Suspiria.
I actually okay. So like you you just turned me into a hypocrite because I was going to say that the remake of Suspiria is better than the original in some
Yes.
ways.
For
And
me
that is
too.
on my list because it was shocking because I actually didn't know what to expect going in, and I had a really faded memory of what the original was like.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing this version was like, oh shit, like Luca Guadagnino turned this into something
Right.
crazy. So
Right.
I really enjoyed it.
What? Crap. Oh, are you in New York or L.A.?
I'm in New York.
Okay. So there is a haunted attraction. I don't know if it's open still, but at least as of a few years ago it was, called Sleep No More in New York. And it is not really a traditional haunted house. Everybody has to wear a mask. There's no phones. You go in with whoever you came with. That's it. So I went by myself because I was doing a piece for Huffington Post, and so they put you in by yourself, and you wear these masks that every single mask is the same, so it's all very anonymous, and it takes place in a like kind of a old hotel. It's very interactive. So there's all these things going on in different rooms and halls. And maybe an actor who you don't know is a guest or an actor takes your hand and pulls you into a room. And this is what happened to me. Somebody took me into a room. In this room, there was just a chair and there was like a light bulb hanging from like a string or whatever above the chair, really, really creepy. And she sat me down and then like went like this, like, wait a second, and then left the room. And behind me, it was all dark. And so I'm like, is there somebody behind me? I'm like looking around. And I mean, it was just weird and eerie and disturbing. That's what Suspiria, it felt like the movie version of Suspiria. I mean, it felt like the real life version of Suspiria. Really, really cool. If anybody's in New York and Sleep No More is still going, which I hope it is, I should probably look it up real quick.
It looks like it is.
Oh, awesome. It is really, really well worth checking out. Oh yeah, the McKittrick Hotel. McKittrickHotel.com, Sleep No More New York. It is really, really disturbingly weird. It's not like a haunt where you leave, because I'm a big haunted attraction fan. It's not like a haunt that you leave and you're like, oh my God, that was so scary and fun and blah, blah, blah. This is like in your head, like
Right.
well after you leave. It's very strange. And they encourage you, if you're in a room, look through, the drawers or whatever. And it's just incredible. So Suspiria actually, for me is like the movie version of Sleep No More. Well worth it if you're a haunt fan in New York.
And I took a friend with me. I remember taking a friend with me to a press screening, and we were just like, what exactly are we going to be getting into?
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't until like the one scene with old girl twisting inside out, and we were like, oh snap, we're really in for something here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it delivered.
Yeah, and that was another, work, Suspiria, that isn't just like, oh, that was so scary and good, like, and now I'm on to the next thing. That was one that like kind of stuck with me, where I'm like thinking about it later, like, it's kind of just weird and stays with you. So,
And I think that that's the key to horror, right? Like finding a movie that sticks with you long after you've left the theater. And you have some films that sit like outside the genre, but can be considered like horror light,
mm-hmm.
like Kristen Stewart Spencer, or films like Come and See, or there are films that are out there, dramas and thrillers that deploy a lot of horror tactics.
Yeah.
Wes Craven's Red Eye, for example, is one of those.
Oh, I haven't seen Red Eye. Oh, wait. Is that with, what's her name on the plane?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, yes. I did see that. Yeah. Yeah, that is one that, yeah.
I enjoy those kinds of films as well, or like the Neon Demon, which is another divisive one.
Yes.
Sort of sits outside the horror genre, but you see a lot of elements posted there.
Mm-hmm. Last Night in Soho was almost like that for me. I believe that's what it's called.
Yes, and I think Last Night in Soho was touted as true horror, which I disagreed with.
Right. It's kind of like horror light or horror-ish or something.
Yeah, it's horror-ish. It deploys giallo elements, of horror, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm so scared.
Right.
I can't sleep at night.
Right, exactly. What about so I just created a list on Letterboxd, which I love Letterboxd. You and I were just talking about our Letterboxd accounts. I created a list, best films for October and Halloween, and I had when I created it in my mind, I didn't want to do my favorite horror movies. You know what I mean? I wanted to do like, what are the best Halloween / October films, which I feel like somebody listening or may think, well, what's the difference? Like there are horror movies that I feel like, or even films in general, that like you got to watch during October, or on a Halloween night or something, when you're like, oh, let's just chill and watch movies tonight. So I created it's called Best Films for October and Halloween, and of course my name on Letterboxd is Kyle McMahon, and yours is V Complex, and follow us on Letterboxd. So just some of mine. I'm just obviously not going to go through all of them, but like I even put like Casper on there, the original, or
Yep.
Or maybe it's not the original, but then like 95 one. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's like a great movie to watch during October. There's just something about it. I don't know if it's like the childhood thing for me. Another one's Hocus Pocus, which is I freaking love Hocus Pocus. And I have friends that are like, oh, over time it's like gotten cheesier. But then I have people like me that are like just obsessed. Like it's just become better over time. And it's just some of the other ones off, just randomly kind of, and feel free to jump in if you have any thoughts on any of these. But Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, obviously for many.
That's a big one I used to watch as a kid. Like I used to
Yes.
watch that
Yes,
religiously as a child.
Exactly. And I don't know if you've seen it lately, but it's just, Elvira is very timeless in general for me. I mean, even her whole shtick, and she's been on the show numerous times. And I love this about her, that she's dressed as what, like a kind of a universal monster sort of character. However, she's here, whatever time that is. If you're watching it today, it's in the present or whatever. And Mistress of the Dark really does hold up for me in that kitschy sort of what's the word? Satirical. Like manner, and she's got that that charm and humor, that it's just one of those that every October I'm going to watch Elvira. And then I have things like actually Creepshow's on my list. Ernest Scared Stupid, that's another kind of throwback one for me. That's we're not gonna, I would hope somebody watching Ernest Scared Stupid isn't like, Kyle, this the direction was awful and the writing had plot holes. Like I get it, but it is for me very enjoyable and I love it, and a lot of that is the nostalgic value, but it's just a fun Halloween movie. Even Halloween Town, have you ever seen any of those?
No.
Okay, so they're like a Disney-ish, I think it was like Disney Channel or something. Very, Debbie Reynolds starred, and they all live in this Halloween town. And it says, on the synopsis is, on her 13th birthday, Marnie learns she's a witch, discovers a secret portal, and is transferred to Halloween Town, a magical place where ghosts and ghouls, witches and werewolves live apart from the human world. It's just one of those like kind of kitschy, like, I'm going to put this on and feel good sort of things, But then I have things like Trick or Treat. I want to know your thoughts on Trick or Treat. Have you seen it?
You're going to laugh, but I've never seen it before.
What?
I haven't seen Trick or Treat, and my friend has been trying to get me to watch Ginger Snaps, and
That's a good one too.
I started it, and then I was like, let me just
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'm just tired, so I'll just make it like reconnect with it, and I'm going to at some point. My introduction to horror was never those things. I didn't discover like Halloween Town or anything like that until I was in my 20s. My dad would take me to see like Nightmare on Elm Street as a 5-year-old, or,
Ooh.
you know, Friday the 13th. He
Mm.
was like, let's get fully immersed in this business. And my mom says this because, he used to take her to see horror films when she was pregnant with me. And so, I used to, I would sit at the theater and I'd be all into it and everything, and then get home and be scared, which is true. But I was like 5, 6 years old. At 9 years old, my dad took me to see Candyman. He took me
Wow.
to Angel Heart, which is like not appropriate for a child,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
whatever. I went and saw these things like Serpent and the Rainbow and all that. And so, it wasn't until like later that I discovered, like, oh, there are these things for kids. I mean, I used to read Goosebumps and stuff
Oh
like that,
yeah,
but
Goosebumps is awesome.
graduated very, early to reading an author called Christopher Pike, who used to write like YA, violent YA, like horror,
Okay.
and reading stuff like The Stand and
Mm.
Dark Tower at 14. Like, you know what I mean?
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
horror, it was different for me. So, like, Hocus Pocus and all that, I didn't see until I was an adult.
Right. Right.
Um, and like when I think of like perfect Halloween movies, it always depends on what's going on in my life at that time. I might watch a bunch of horror comedy like Shaun of the Dead,
A
and
great
Animal
one.
Apocalypse, or if I'm feeling for the classics, I'll just watch, the pantheon of horror. I might watch some Candyman, even though those movies suck. I might watch Friday the 13th, even though most of those suck too. Freddy, Jason, Michael, um, The Evil Dead, stuff like that.
Mm. The
So
classics, really.
yeah, so I always feel like that those are sort of a good place to start if you're looking just for something random to do, and you can always go into your genre things, or you know pick if you're whatever.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to get into animated horror recently,
Okay.
not necessarily just Japanese anime, but just seeing where the horror elements lie. So watching stuff like Watership Down, which was depressing, and
Mm.
or like Disney's Fantasia, which is pretty, like, I think it scared me even as a kid as
Yeah,
I
me
see.
too.
Um, or watching stuff like Legend. Uh,
Ooh, Tom Cruise.
yeah, it's a movie that he never talks about, which I don't know why.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's so good and it's terrifying.
I was gonna say it's a great film. It's well directed and it's creepy, but um, so it'll depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for something more modern, Hulu does a horror thing every
Yes.
year.
Halloween, right?
Yeah, Huluween does something every year. Not to say that those movies are good, but it might be worth exploring. So I guess it just depends on your mood and what you're looking to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I need you as a friend, please see Trick or Treat. It's 2007, directed by Michael Dougherty. It is definitely not for kids. It is a kind of anthology where these 4 stories are kind of interwoven. It, for me, has become a quintessential Halloween movie. Very varied in the anthological stories. I shouldn't try to sound smart. I don't even know if that's a word, but very varied in the 4 stories that are told. Like, there's a slasher one. There's like a supernatural one. It is, for me, a work of Halloween genius. It is a quintessential Halloween movie for me. There won't be a year that I will not watch Trick or Treat. And now, so that was 2007. So we're 15 years out or something. there has been demand that has been growing over time about a follow-up, and there's been some graphic novel tie-ins and that sort of thing. But Michael Dougherty is saying that Trick or Treat 2 is in the cards. So, and there's this awesome character, Sam, from Trick or Treat, and I'm trying to see his exact name. Oh, yeah, it's Sam because it stands for Sam Hine or whatever. I think, am I saying that right? Sam Hine, the Halloween ritual or whatever it is. So this little guy, Sam, has become for me an iconic Halloween character like Jason or Freddy or Michael Myers or Pennyworth or Annabelle or whatever. I mean Pennywise, not Pennyworth. Please, for me, if you have a night or day or whatever where you have 90 minutes, please watch Trick or Treat, and I need to know what you think.
Okay, I will check it out.
I think you will like it. There is something, as a horror fan, from one horror fan to another, I really, really, really am excited for you to watch it because I can't wait to know what you think. I can't wait to talk to you about it. But put it on your list, please, for me.
I am interested. I will definitely check it out. Like my friends and stuff have been talking about it, but I'll check it out and see what it's like.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm curious now because now I've built it up so much. But I really truly believe as a Halloween, as a horror genre fan, that you will really like it. One last question: What do you think are some kind of quintessential, and you kind of mentioned some of them. We touched on this briefly, but I'm curious a little bit more in depth. If I'm like, I've never been really into horror, like where should I start? Would you say to start with the classics, or is there a particular film you would say, all right, you've never been into horror, you want to give it a go because you have a Kyle or a Valerie bugging you? Where would you start them off?
I don't know. I guess I would start with the classics first. I would just it would have to be curated a little bit because it's like, Nightmare on Elm Street, like 1, 2, and 3 are great, but 4, 5, 6, and whatever else.
Yeah, don't go there.
Not great film. The first Friday the 13th is not entertaining to me at all, but 2 and 3 are pretty decent in my opinion. The only 2 Halloweens that are worth anything are 1 and 2, at least in my personal opinion.
You didn't like 3 at all? Season of the Witch?
3? No. But if they're like serious about serious horror, but if they're not serious, then I would start them off with something like Ghost of Mars, which a lot of people hate, but it's fun.
That's John Carpenter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Ice Cube.
Yes.
Like Ghost of Mars, like the first Resident Evil movie, Shaun of the Dead. Like I would start them off with stuff like that. That's a little action heavy, so it could distract them from like being like terrified.
Yeah.
There are levels to it.
Absolutely.
I might even suggest like the Blair Witch Project, which is mostly boring and not much happens. So it's like if you want to really be eased in, here are these things you should sort of go by.
All right.
Yeah.
Finally, and I think you and I talked about this offline last time, but underrepresentation in Hollywood, which can never, I want to say as somebody who is not underrepresented in Hollywood, that I feel like we're moving in a direction where it's becoming less of a problem as it was, even 10 years ago. But you have people like the incredible Jordan Peele, who's one of my favorites ever, who is bringing up voices like Nia
DaCosta.
Thank you, Nia DaCosta, for doing her version of Candyman. Do you think that we are getting better in that aspect of horror?
I think horror is one of the most flexible genres to exist. It's cheap to make horror films, relatively. It is kinder to women and people of color. It is it can be full of social commentary, and it's flexible enough to examine some of these things within the genre. And that's why you see so many Black women writing and directing horror. You have Mariama Diallo, who created Master for Amazon. You have Nia DaCosta with Candyman. You have Nanny. She wrote and directed Nanny, which is also on Amazon. Her name is Yatu Jusu. She directed and wrote this sort of horror film based in African folklore. And you have Jordan Peele, whose budgets get bigger and whose stories get better. Us was pretty divisive, but I enjoyed it. I didn't love Nope at first, but upon a second watch, I really dug it and really liked it.
Same with me.
And I just think that it's just one of those genres that is really easy to break into. Like, as long as it's cheap. Like, I have horror scripts that I've written, even though their ideas are a little bit more out there, and I've had people tell me, well, this sounds so expensive. It's good, but expensive. I think that it's one of the great ways that one could break in.
Absolutely.
In the indie circuit. I mean, look at Megan. Megan was written by a Black woman, and I believe Malignant was that James?
I freaking love Malignant. Akilah Cooper.
Yes, Akilah Cooper is doing a lot of great, horror things, and she's writing Megan 2.0, which it was a big hit. Yes. She did write Malignant. She wrote Malignant,
which is so good. She
wrote The Nun too. So it's just like, I have friends that have Black women who have written horror. Run, Sweetheart, Run. Is another Amazon horror film that was written by a friend of mine. And so it's just so easy. And even in a way to explore like queerness, a lot of horror has always been queer, but now it can be overt as opposed to covert. Like, and you could just be straight out. Like, you have Fear Street, they're not the best films, but they exist as sort of a queer, of an intersection of queerness and horror. And you have films like Knife Plus Heart and different other films that explore that aspect of what it means to be a queer person or what it means to be trans. And so there's that.
I love that. We have 1 minute and 45 seconds left. I could continue to talk to you forever about this. I could continue to talk to you forever about all things because you are so awesome. But I want to thank you, Valerie. You are absolutely amazing. I can't wait for you to come back. I love talking with you in general, and especially about my favorite genre. Thank you so much. Where can everybody find you?
Everybody can find me on Instagram at Valerie_complex2. You can contact me via my website, which is valeriecomplex.com. I also have a podcast at Deadline called the Scene to Scene Podcast, where I talk to people from all facets of the industry about, personal topics, some of their favorite things in the business and what it's like to work on, their specified projects. And you can check that out also on iHeartRadio, Apple, and Spotify.
Sweet. We will have all the links. Come back again very soon, please.
Oh, yes, I definitely will. I want to see if I can come back in December because I think Christmas is like a really interesting time.
Awesome. Let's do it.
To talk about certain things.
Sweet.
So thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
To do this, finally.
I know. Thank you so much, V.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Valerie Complex. I love her. I love discussing film with her and genres and all the things. You can get all Valerie Complex goodness at valeriecomplex.com, and you can follow her socials and contact her there, see her reviews and interviews. She's awesome. Can't wait to have her back. Deadline.com. All right. Next up, we have my interview for 2023 with Lovecraft about their brand new album, V. So I'm really stoked about that. I've heard the album. It's amazing. And they are the music tastemakers for the Halloween season and spooky season all year long. So let's just get right into it. Lovecraft. So I am here once again. I love this act. I love everything you guys do. I am here with Amanda MNDR, aka Deep Cuts from Lovecraft. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having us back on Pop Culture Weekly.
Of
I'm so
course.
excited.
I've got to tell you, so there's many songs that I listen to by you guys, obviously, throughout the year, but one in particular is Me Vida. I love that song.
Corazón.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is so good. It is literally on my Apple Music replay 2023 already for my most played songs so far for the year. I love it so much.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. That's from our Dias de los Muertos. I think that's EP1.
Mm-hmm.
So we have an EP1 and an EP2, and it was written by the fierce Latinx artist Cat Dahlia, aka Devil Dahlia, in the Lovecraft spooky verse. So I'm so glad we're actually doing like a big activation this year around our Dias de los Muertos records, because as that day is November 1st and Where Spooky Never Sleeps,
Yeah.
you gotta keep it going.
Absolutely. I love it. And it's just so catchy. Me vida. It's just, and the production on it, it's so good. I love it.
Ugh, I love that you love that, because I love it. And people, we're located in Los Angeles, Southern California, and it's really great to share Spanish speaking like records in the spooky world with the whole Latinx community. It's awesome.
Yeah. You
really keeps it up. Keeps it spooky up.
For sure. Absolutely. And any instance, chance to keep the spooky going all year is good for me and you guys.
Yeah, no, we love it. I mean, it really bridges us right into Hell for the Holidays, really.
Yeah.
Or spooky Christmas or spooky holiday music. So yeah,
I love it.
We love it.
Yeah. So, well, and speaking of music, you guys have a brand new album out right now called V that just came out. Tell me about that.
Oh my gosh. So, last year's Scream Warriors just was, and that was our album 4 with Christopher Young, made the scariest album ever made. And we had so much fun doing that, and it was so amazing. It was just an immersive album. We love immersive everything in the horror spooky culture space, like from haunts to immersive theater to, everything. So to honor that, we did that. But then we were like, what are we going to do next year? And I was like, you know what? I love found footage horror. I love it.
Me too.
I really do. I really, really, really like Blair Witch. I was like right in the midst of like high school when that, dropped, and it blew all of our minds.
Yeah.
And a true, real original scare. And then of course, like all the paranormal franchise, VHS, everything like that. So we wanted to honor that genre of horror with creating an album based on our lore. If all of you, to new Lovecraft spooky freaks, as we call our fans, we call it spooky freaks. If you've been with us from day one, you'll know that there's story arcs going with all of our characters. If you're new, just go to LVCRFT.net and go to the epitaphs of the spooky freaks, and you'll learn more about our lore. I digress. But we also wanted to make like a retro spooky album. So we thought, like, why don't we tie in the lore of Lovecraft from where part of Skeleton Sam's lore into this album with found audio.
Yeah.
So was the inspiration. And then just to like totally plaster the wall with blood and guts and spooky bops. So that was 5. That is 5.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it is such an awesome album. And is that how you pronounce it? Is it 5 or V?
V. Either one, like
Okay.
probably V, and it is a nod to those of us that grew up in the 80s, if anyone remembers V, the V people. Do you remember the miniseries?
I don't.
Oh my God. Okay. I'll
Wait,
send you.
Is that aliens? It's like alien people? I do.
Yeah, because that like tortured me when I was like a kid. Kirstie Alley was in it. It was like such a crazy miniseries.
All right, so I gotta check into it then, because I do vaguely remember. Didn't they have like it was like Masks or something.
Total They Live kind of plot going on.
All right. Awesome.
Total Lizard People.
I'm going to have to.
Lizard People are coming.
I'm definitely going to have to check that one out then. There's.
V.
So there, there's so many great songs on this. One of my faves is Bad Witches, which is a bop, a spooky bop. Tell me about that one.
God, we are like over 100 songs deep into making spooky music. Okay. And sometimes we laugh that we haven't written Bad Witches yet, right?
Yeah.
And that was one that our iconic Evil McQueen, aka the legendary songwriter and architect for modern pop music, Bonnie McKee.
Yes.
For your listeners, Bonnie McKee is an artist, songwriter who wrote most of Katy Perry's Teenage Dreams album, but many of her hits and a million other hits. She's just such a talented musician and songwriter, and she's part of our slashers, and it's like a Bonnie McCree witchcrafted hit, Bad Witches.
Yeah, it's so cool. And Every Day is Halloween is another highlight for me. Oh my God. How did that one come out?
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had nothing to do with that. So for your listeners, when we make the album, in January and sometimes in November, we bring everyone together for a week or two, all the slashers, and we run like two production rooms in the same space. And so there's a little tiny spooky competitions going. And when I heard that one, I was like, you did it again. Little pumpkin.
So it's I think that's interesting that you do the kind of writers' rooms. It's almost reminds me of a spooky Fleetwood Mac-ish thing where you have, various singers and songwriters and producers. Obviously, it's a little bit more expanded with you guys. But I think that's super interesting. And actually, it was one of the things I was going to ask you is how do you have so many talented artists. You have the core of you guys, but then you have your slashers or whatever in like the spooky verse. How do you choose, we need to work with this person, or how does that happen?
Yeah, so honestly, we bring it. So just, for your spooky listeners, it's we have a core group of creators. There's about 5 of us that work every year on the album, 5 to 6, like depending if people are touring, etc. So and then throughout the year, we're all working in what I call non-spooky music. Which is less fun. I'll just say, no, we love it. We love making music. We feel honored we get to do it every day. But so we're working on people, artists that are signed to labels, and working on their albums as producers, songwriters. And, those spaces can be intimate. People are telling each other what they're into, relationships, etc. And then you'll find out like, oh, we got a lot of horror freaks that are musicians. And so, it's definitely natural. And then the founders, Pumpkin Crates, and I will call each other and be like, I just had a session with so-and-so and they're absolute freaks for everything spooky. Let's bring them in next year. So that's generally how we add to our slashers.
I love that. And so it's very organic in how it happens.
Yeah, and it does just go to show everyone, like, people love spooky culture.
Yes.
They just love it.
Yes.
They love it. It's fun. It's exciting. I don't know what it is. I mean, I know I just love it, but if I could sit with a therapist to tap it out,
Yeah.
like,
yeah. It's funny that you say that about a therapist, because my therapist once said to me before she escaped and she actually retired, but she said, I could do a whole book on you on how you have, fear of flying, and you have all this anxiety, and then you love going to haunted houses, and you love horror movies, and you love Halloween. Like, she's like, there's something there that, needs to be explored. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a compliment. I don't think it's a compliment, but thank you. And if you do a book on it, please just, send me a little something. But it is super interesting how, it really does, being in, the spooky world. I have so many friends that are, fellow spooky people. And it's like, there's a family lawyer that is a friend of mine that is super into it and works at Frightland for
gosh,
fun.
that's so cool.
I mean, obviously, they pay her, but she does. She's like, that's my de-stressing, and I can be my character and
Yep.
blah blah blah. And it's just, it runs the gamut of everybody. I haven't really found, because you typically think stereotypically, it's like just goth kids or something, but it's not. I mean, it's like really, there's hidden spooky freaks all over the world, and guys, reach out. I love the spooky community.
Yeah, use our music, make content. Lovecraft, we cheer you on, and I know Pop Culture Weekly, I know you do too.
Absolutely.
Because it's I think there's a real, I've talked to some of my spooky community about it, because I would say all of us have diagnosed PTSD or anxiety. I know I do, disorders, diagnosed, etc. And I also find this community, I've been in many different creative communities throughout my life as a creative. I always think I'm kind of boring. Like when my people I grew up with are like, what do you do? And I'm like, making music.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a one-noter. And we talked about it at length, and I think it's our ability to face our fears and to see those through. I think there's really like something there, because it also, I noticed the spooky community is quite a empathetic and caring and creative community.
Yeah.
Which is also, I think people wouldn't expect that.
For sure.
So,
for sure.
Yeah.
And it really is a, I find it I was doing an interview yesterday with a friend of mine who she specializes in horror and sci-fi with Deadline. And she, does, they're amazing. And she was telling me, we were discussing about how forward thinking it really is, where, traditional Hollywood in many respects, especially in film and television, is often afraid to bring on a showrunner or director or writer or whatever that is, a person of color or LGBTQ or whatever. Horror has always kind of been a place where has been accepting and pushing the boundaries for the general population in underrepresented communities as well. So I find not just is it the people that are so empathetic, with all of our fellow disorders and stuff, but it's also very much a come as you are community, whatever you are, as you are, we love and accept you. And I think that's so awesome. It's a thing that I'm proud of being in that community for.
Yeah, me as well, because I think like horror has always been a space, an outsider art form, from film to music, everything in the culture, celebrating the culture, and it celebrates the other. And when you think of the success of Romero and in the zombie films and just self-funding those and the social commentary of those movies, and it's definitely been a space for women and non-male creators to like soar, and now we're getting to a space I feel and obviously creators of color, and the queer community.
Yeah.
And now I'm hoping we get to the space where we're going to start seeing more of the Oscars and more like the awards area giving the acknowledgement. Like I'm still amazed that Mia Goth did not receive at the very least a nomination.
Yeah. But I think exactly. But I think that things like Lovecraft and films, creators like Jordan Peele in the film and television world are, look at the business of the box office. To this day, so many, analysts and studio heads they kind of don't count horror, and then they get this big explosion of a popular horror film, and they're like, oh, how did that happen? Well, if you haven't noticed, it happens like 4 or 5 times a year. You know what I mean? It's not an underdog anymore. In many times, in many seasons, I should say, it is carrying the box office when you have a $5 million film go on and gross $100 million. Like, take note of that at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're doing another run of Terrifier 2 through the theaters, through mainstream theaters again.
Yes.
That's what I mean, to me, it's really that's holding the box office up are the superhero Marvel and DC and horror.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're just in a we're in a horror renaissance, but I don't think it's going anywhere. Like, it's not going to be that, like, oh, we had the 80s era and then we had like a 90s era. I just think it's like here. And to me, the quality, generally I'd be like, no, it's going to get bad. But to me, the quality has just gotten better and better with like focus and, and for more of the indie horror film lovers, like, are starting to really see some amazing horror films coming out. And
absolutely,
Australian horror never disappoints me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That
to me really blew my mind this year.
Oh my God, that was so amazing. It was so good.
I texted all my spooky friends. I was like, what are you doing right now? We're laughing, everyone's making like spooky jokes. I was like, drop what you're doing, drop your knives, run to the movie theater. So I told everyone to do. I was like, do not walk, run.
Yeah, it is. Oh my God, it's so good. It is so good. And Terrifier 2, by the way, was filmed mostly at Fright Factory in Philadelphia, which would be on the tour that I'm determined to set up for you guys.
Please,
but
you have to.
Yeah, I absolutely. And it's just such a creative community, and you guys are just an extension of that. I'm so glad that there are powerful voices in the music industry who are saying, you know what, I'm going to let my spooky freak flag fly, and we're going to use our talents to do this at a big level. And it's huge. You guys last year were everywhere in the Halloween season, and now it's happening again. It's just awesome. When you started this, 4 or 5 years ago, did you ever expect it to get to this level?
No, I didn't expect it to become like essentially what in the industry we would call an artist project, right? Mm-hmm. Like forward facing, going to events, playing. But I didn't expect that. I expected it to, like, our goal was to make like an evergreen Halloween song. And, just as like a freaky factoid for the audience, I want everyone to know, and we died as the founders. We had never written a song with Halloween in the title until album V.
Right. I noticed that.
And so this year we have 3. Anyways, we just, to this day, the irony of that is like really funny to me. But yeah, and I would say like our publishers and our managers were like, what are you doing here? Right. Like, why are you spending so much time on this? And I was like, do you see how many, and we just kind of didn't listen, as artists do. We don't listen to anyone, right? And now to really be a part of seeing it grow. I mean, it's not just us, like our project has grown, but spooky. I just call it spooky because it's so much bigger than Halloween now.
Right.
That to watch that grow and to be a part of that has been like really, 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 really fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's
unbelievably fun.
Well, even to watch it as somebody that is a spooky person and a music lover, I mean, I think I told you I used to be signed with Warner out of high school, and so like amazing. From all sides.
I forgot about that.
It's just like from all sides. I'm so happy for you guys. I mean, you are literally a Grammy-winning creator, artist, writer, producer. And you are, as you mentioned, probably to your publishers, horror at first, no pun intended, are using that power and that name and that talent to say, you know what, this is important to me and I want to do it. And then it blew up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's rare. And I'll tell you, like 5 years ago, I think when I take meetings, because I'm an artist in the non-spooky world known as MNDR, and like a electro pop artist, and but I'm also work as a songwriter and producer. So when I'm taking meetings with A&Rs asking you what you're up to, and you're like, oh yeah, I started this I co-founded with Evan Bogart and Peter Wade Lovecraft. We make like new Halloween music, and people are like, what? They kind of roll their eyes, right? And now what we found so interesting is now the majors are signing artists whose entire brands are spooky.
Wow.
Blood Nymph. There's a whole, and we're working with all of them, which is so exciting.
That is really cool.
We want to work, we don't want to take all our spooky toys and not share. We're like, awesome, like more the merrier. Yeah. Like, let's work together. So
absolutely.
That's been fun.
That is really cool. And, I love that angle. And it's really, in my opinion, you guys have opened the doors for that because, I mean, look at, you had one of the most streamed songs last year during all of spooky season, and that for me has become, and I think for the culture now is going to be one of those, Mariah, who again, don't fall out yet, but I think it's going to be one of those things like the like All I Want for Christmas for spooky season, where it's going to be one of those songs every year that forever is going to be associated with spooky season. And I love that. I love that so much.
That was our goal. And here's a freaky factoid on that song, Skeleton Sam, which I believe you're talking about.
Yes. Oh, I didn't even say it. Yeah.
Was we're album V. We're 5 albums in, over 100 songs written about spooky, everything spooky. And that was the very first song that was written. And I just find that so, and again, I had nothing to do with it. I was in the other room. But we were doing Woo, which is our second biggest record.
Yeah.
So, and on streaming platforms. And in our goal was like, we wanted to be part of like spooky culture the way Ghostbusters, Thriller, Monster Mash. That was our goal, and to reach that was like spooky tears.
Yeah,
and to see it grow into this year has been like, to see how people use that song in their creations has been really, really humbling.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. TikTok is flooded with it all, and has been for a month. And we're not even into peak spooky season yet, so it's just, it's so awesome to see all of, this come together. What are you guys doing show wise? You did some interesting things last year. Any things that we can look forward to this year?
Yeah. So this year right now, along with Skeleton Sam, that had a great placement. It's been in Hubie Halloween. It was re-lyriced for the season bumpers of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which was a great lift for it, but it wasn't that version. They asked us to re-lyric it to fit the narrative of that series, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And that version's called Straight to Hell, which I did have a part of. Songwriters, just let your spooky audience know, songwriters and producers, we're just a little competitive. It's freaky fun competitive, but we always want to have the big one.
Absolutely.
But we're happy that all of us have one. So now, we didn't have, because we were in the shadows, we wanted this project to we didn't expect it to need to have a forward-facing brand character. So none of us wanted to do that. And so we conjured up what I call my Eddie from Iron Maiden.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's Skeleton Sam. He's a hybrid of Rob Halford and Eddie for me.
I love that.
With a pop angle, and Skeleton Sam took off as a character.
Yeah.
So now, our live activations this season, he is getting asked to do media nights and come to independent haunts, we are every night in Long Beach running the entertainment for Shacktoberfest, which is an amazing event. We run the block party stage with our DJ Reaper, and Skeleton Sam is there every night. There's haunts. Shacktoberfest is one of my favorite events to go to in Southern California because there's nothing else like it. There's a fair, there's mazes, there's a bar, there's a dancing area, and you really ages from little to late night. So
That's awesome.
Very cool experience. But it's been very fun to celebrate Lovecraft Skeleton Sam in Detroit this year at Hush. We opened up their haunt, did media night, and he's actually there as well every night they're open this season.
That is really cool.
Skeleton Sam has multiplied. He's been on tour. We've been in Sacramento, Sacramento Scream Fest, that haunt, and also we've been to San Francisco for Terror Vault, the Initiation, which is a nightlife immersive event with a vampire bar that is the brainchild of the iconic queen herself, Peaches Christ.
Oh, awesome.
So it has been one busy season.
That is awesome. And then are you we come to Halloween and then at least for me, and I'm sure for you too, like, first week in November, I start kind of getting down because I'm like, and then it gets, at least on the East Coast, it gets darker earlier. It's like 4:00 and it's dark. And I feel like I go into hibernation. And then, but you guys start either working on or planning or all of the above for the next project, right?
Yeah, on November 2nd, we do a postmortem meeting. We've already have album 6 scheduled in the calendars for the slashers and the creators. And we're going to be diving right into the next body of work. And before the end of the year, don't think that the holiday season, Christmas, New Year's, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa can't be spooky.
Right.
So get ready for our Hell for the Holidays EP.
Awesome.
It's coming out with brand new. Last year we did, our first spooky holiday song was Naughty and Nice. Mm-hmm. And we have a new version of that, which we're excited about. And then we have All I Want for Christmas is Boo, which came out last year. And then this year we have a brand new song, which we're very excited about. So we'll be keeping the bops going. And obviously November 1st, we're celebrating Dias de los Muertos with our entire Latinx community here. And with our EPs, Uno and Dos. And those are available on all streaming platforms. But if you're watching right now on our social media, we've also dove into storytelling and to tell our origin more.
Yes. That's been really fun to watch.
Okay, have you been watching?
I have, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll have all the links up for everybody as well, but I love the universe. You know what I'm saying? The immersiveness.
Yeah. So we this year are rolling out in a 20-part series on our social media, a short film diving into the origin of really Skeleton Sam and the Spooky Freaks. So it is really freaky. I'm on part 13. It's very easy to find the parts. And those of you spooky freaks out there, if you're someone like me that loves horror talk, #horror talk, #horror reels, there's a lot of great short films, horror films that are being run out on these platforms in parts.
Right.
So we are also doing that this year to celebrate V and to tell the story of V and to tell the whole spooky verse of Lovecraft. So totally worth watching. It is on Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and our YouTube channel, and of course TikTok. And it's getting really freaky. And we were able to use, with the awesomeness of our partners, 13th Floor, who run Shacktoberfest and LA Haunted Hayride and Delusion, which is an amazing immersive experience here in Los Angeles. We were able to do a lot of filming at a very creepy place in Pomona, California. So if you're like, what is going on? Just know that was a special treat. And it was legitimately haunted.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of that footage was haunted.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I love that. And then I want to see you guys at like Trans World in St. Louis. You know what I'm talking about? Absolutely.
We have plans to be there this year.
Do you? All right. We are having lunch or dinner or drinks or something.
Yes. It's so great to know you'll be there.
Yes. Yeah, it is. So this will be your first time, right? Or have you been there?
I haven't been there. Norman Crates went one year just to like check it out, see what it's all about. But we will be there as Lovecraft this year.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Now I'm super duper excited. Yeah, you guys have to be there. Every haunt owner in the country is there, and buyers and all kinds. I'm excited for you guys, and I'm excited for me to see you guys together finally in person. So that's awesome. That'll be, I think it's February or March. Can't remember the dates, but yes. Awesome. Yeah, and then we'll be keeping on top of all of Lovecraft's awesome stuff throughout the year, keeping us going because, like you said, spooky season never dies. You know what I mean?
No, it's spooky 24/7, and
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. Like, people can't believe how into it I'm home crafting. I'm decorating, throwing. I have a toddler, so we're throwing kid parties, and I mean, we're just all about it. It isn't, it definitely is a labor of freaky love. And we're just so excited that we have people like you that want to celebrate what we're doing. We're so grateful for that.
Oh, of course.
We absolutely love it.
Of course. Every day. Of course. And I am right there with you. Amanda, thank you so much. Lovecraft will have all of the cool or the easy links to all the cool stuff you guys are doing. And of course, V is streaming now on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you listen to your music.
Thank you so much. And everybody, happy hauntings and creep it real.
Creep it real. Love her, love Lovecraft, love V, their brand new album, which you can stream wherever you get your music, just like on the free iHeartRadio app. That is our show for this year. Happy Halloween, safe Halloween. I'll be keeping spooky season going all year long anyway. But for those of you that don't, please have a safe and happy Halloween. I will see you next week. I love you. We out.
Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Weekly. Hear all the latest at popcultureweekly.com.
Mi vida, dime si es una locura decir que yo quiero morir contigo. One shotgun in the trunk, two lovers on the run. Ay, ay, ay.